Greetings, this is Kevin Jefferson with this week's trade theory for the week of June 24, 2025. I hope you guys are having a wonderful week thus far. It's Tuesday, and we're going to go back and look at what's been happening in the chart since the last post. I think I posted last Thursday or Friday. I think it was Thursday, actually, Juneteenth. So this is the Bitcoin chart. I last week put that this was a bearish area of interest. If price closed below there, I'm looking for price to potentially start short and start to go down, and I told you there's a lot of downside opportunity on Bitcoin. So price is broken below that bearish area of interest, is back up into the pullback point. I have right up here around the 108,709 area, 108,700 area as a possible reset point for price to pull back to, and then we'll see if it continues lower or if it breaks above the previous inflection point, the swing high of around 110, 277.13. My expectation is that price resets here and then may kind of pull back in a complex way and eventually start short, but we'll see. Anything is possible, but it has fulfilled the first element, which is actually setting up and closing below that bearish area of interest that I mentioned. Now it's back up in a pullback point, and so we'll just observe price over the next couple of days and see what happens here. All right, so we're going to move on to WTI crude. Oil, as I mentioned previously, had a lot of downside potential, and so obviously people were concerned about prices soaring behind what's happening in the global economy recently. But I saw definitely some downside there. So once we got up here, it didn't quite hit the area of resistance that I talked about, but it did approach it and then get rejected. And so price is starting to pull back here, and that was my max pullback point possibly, but it did go above there. And now it's back into the weekly pullback point that I mentioned. Let me go out to the weekly for 1 second just to show you how that looks. And so it's back through the weekly and back down again, almost at the downside area of interest that I mentioned on the 18th of June. And so what this means is we're looking for a pullback. I'm looking for a pullback up to about the 71, what is that, the 71,322 area. And then we'll assess price. But I'm thinking price will pull back here, and then we'll continue lower and start our downward slide on oil, but we don't know. I don't want to get too far ahead. I'm just going to wait for this pullback to happen up here. If it does, or if price continues down to this point, maybe it pulls back up to this area here, but I'm looking for that pullback to happen, and then we'll assess what price does on the other side of that. But it has started to make its downward move off of that resistance that we discussed. Okay, now we're going to gold, and what gold has done is it's pulled back as we chatted about. I have this as a possible reset point before resuming long around the 32.69.40.51 area. So price is looking to potentially stake down here, and then it could come back up here to this upside target that I have back on the 19th of 34.70 to 23, 34.70.23 possibly. But if it breaks down, let's say if it gets back to this reset point, or three things we can look at, right? So price can pull back now and move to this upside target one more time, and then we look for just a regular pullback and continuation long. Price could come back and reset here, and then move back up to this upside target, and then wait for a pullback and continuation long. Or price could break down, and it actually could close below the 31.75.71 area, and then we'd be looking for a pullback and a move short. But as I mentioned before, even though these pushes are happening in a shorter waves than they were, I still see bullishness for gold. So I'm looking at this as to be a pullback and then a possible setup for a buy trade. But yeah, so that's where we are with that. We're looking for that to reach that upside target area on gold. So still right now, still bullish on gold. All right, the US 30. So this is interesting because we did have these areas of interest, and we kind of see how that played out. So prices started to, it moved higher, and now it's going beyond this area of interest. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe price, well, this is the Dow, so I'm looking at this point when price close out here for the day, I wouldn't be surprised if it pulls back and we have over the next part of the week actually more downside movement. Maybe just a pullback. It may not be a complete movement to the downside to where it's bearish, because it is definitely technically bullish right now, the Dow, but we're looking for, after the day, possibly a fake higher and then a pullback into this consolidation area here. So don't get too caught up in the buying here. I think price is going to retreat and reduce, and depending on how it reduces, because if it just pulls back, and I haven't measured that range yet, but if it just goes a little bit higher and pulls back, then it's just part of an uptrend. But if it goes higher and then it closes back down here, we're looking for the possibility of price actually pulling back and continuing short. So right now, don't get sucked in, because the market is creating a lot of opportunity and open interest for people to buy into the market. And I would say that this is actually probably a subterfuge to catch buyers and start to go south after today, or maybe after tomorrow, on the Dow. So I'd be waiting for a pullback to let price give me an indication of what it wants to do next. All right, going on to the NASDAQ. The NASDAQ is boosted higher as well. It came back almost to that recent point. It didn't completely come back there yet. Price is higher here. It may go higher one more day as well, and then turn around and start to pull back for the rest of the week going into next week. So we're looking for some relief from these moves higher over the coming days. Then to wrap it up with the S&P 500, same thing here. The S&P has actually shot up, and it hasn't hit that loose target extension point that I was talking about, but that's where I'm looking at price to definitely stall out and then pull back from. And we'll see what price does there. So we're kind of in the middle of a move. So I'm giving it another day of possible upside momentum for the indices, and then I'm definitely expecting several days being maybe 2 to 4 days of pullback coming from maybe Wednesday or Thursday of this week going into next week. So just be mindful that you don't want to get on this moving train if you're not already on it. You just want to wait for price to relieve a little bit and give you a better entry opportunity, or give you clarity if price is ready to start moving to the downside. So that's what we've got for today. I hope this has helped you, and I hope you have a wonderful trading week. And until next time, happy trading.